A very warm good afternoon, all of you. Myself, Dr. Prashant from Government College of Engineering, Nagpur, welcoming you for this auspicious occasion of 9th International Conference on Human Values in Higher Education 2024, which started today in the morning with the keynote sessions, and it will be continued up to 24th of November. So, dear friends, we are assembled here for the panel discussions on need of holistic value-based education. So, this is the panel 1, shift 1. So, it will be continued up to 2 to 3:30. So, I take this chance or the responsibility to introduce our UHV point of view speaker, Ms. Lipika Mitra. Ms. Lipika Mitra is the director Bhushala at the Thane. So I hand over the session. She has done B Electrical Engineering from Government College of Engineering, Bilaspur. She is having the fellowship on sustainability of Ladakh, and she is also having industry and social sector experience and volunteering in these human values, universal human values for 1 year. So I once again welcome you all and hand over the session to Miss Lipika. Miss Lipika. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prashant.
Thank you.
Yes. So, namaste everyone. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. This is the panel discussion on holistic value-based education. We have categorized the discussion into 3 parts to have a focused discussion and a definite outcome. These categories are need, vision, and implementation. So in this session, we are going to discuss about the need for holistic education. Firstly, I will briefly present the viewpoint about the need for such education. A part of it has already been addressed during the keynote address by Sri Ganeshji. And then we will open the forum for panelists to discuss on the same, the need for holistic value-based education. And then we will welcome the questions from the delegates. All right. So let us begin with the viewpoint of the need for holistic value-based education. Right. So as we look back on our lives, we all had certain aspirations. Have you achieved everything that we set out to? Perhaps we have, and even more than we initially imagined. However, if we pause and ask ourselves, am I living a truly fulfilling life today? The answer often isn't an unequivocal yes. Despite all our progresses, the technological advancements that we made, the growing infrastructure, the comfort and all of that, there's still something seems to be missing. And that's what the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations is trying to bring the focus onto. So if we look at the goals for a better world, there are 17 such goals that United Nation has come up with, which includes good health, quality education, responsible consumption and production, sustainable communities, peace, justice, to name a few. And if we look at the Constitution of India, it clearly envisions a society which is based on justice, equality, fraternity, liberty. So, and there are several committees that has been formed in India, which has talked about making education value-based. Unless we have values at the core and we try to focus only on the skills, education is not going to serve the need of the society. And we are not going to have the just and equitable society as also envisioned in NEP 2020. And if we read the vision document of AICTE, which is All India Council for Technical Education, UGC, which is the University Grant Commission of India, all these talks about promoting human values through education. Now, leading to the NEP 2020, it says that it is imperative to appreciate the different approaches and achievements which has been made so far and how we can be complementary to fill this gap. So NEP 2020 was another step towards filling this gap. So we can see that the need for human values is felt globally, and education across the globe have been making effort for it. So we're trying to get this message further by trying to introduce human values across the country. And I'm happy to share that AICTE, the governing body for technical education in India, has made very significant effort towards implementing this human values across the country. And we will talk about it in more detail when we discuss the implementation part part of this holistic value-based education in our upcoming sessions.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you look at the education, there is clear priority of values over skills. Right. And education has the responsibility to facilitate both of this, what to do and how to do. Understanding what to do, that is what is valuable as a human being, is one important aspect that is what is called as value education. Learning how to do comes later. So we acquire the skill, we learn the technology, we conduct research, and we try to add more and more skills to support what we find valuable. So both are important, but we are saying that value education takes the higher priority than the skill education. And that's what we are possibly able to see, that unless the education is value-based, we are not going to solve the problems of the society. And if you recollect the keynote address, there were several examples were taken, right? This about the health that, that what we see as, we are not really looking at the root cause of the problem. We are not trying to find out the solution. We are trying to treat the symptom. So education has the responsibility to facilitate both understanding what to do, which is part of the value education, and then learning how to do, which is part of the skill or technology education. The priority that we are proposing is of value education over skill education. Now, if you look at the present approach of our education system, there is a strong emphasis on skill, on learning the skill, and there is focus on gaining right understanding and gaining the capacity to live with fulfillment and relationship. And when we talk about right understanding, one of the important aspects is to understand human being. And when we try to understand human being, we say that human being is coexistence of self and body, right? And human being is not just a body. And through skill education, we generally try to work upon physical facilities, the material things that takes care of the body. The core focus is to develop new technologies, and through that, more and more production, accumulation, and consumption is in the focus. Our processes are also not sustainable, and we are not able to see the limit for how much physical facility is required. We are not even able to utilize the physical facility rightly. And that's why we can see there are pollution, there are resource depletion, there are lots of other global menaces. This is a very precarious situation because the entire focus of our present approach has become skill-centric, rather value deficient. But when we have a solution-centric approach, then we start working for value-based skill education. So we will, of course, learn skill. We will go for research, products, and new technologies, but at the core would be the right understanding. So when we go for value-based skill education, then we try to ensure right understanding in every child, the capacity to live in relationship with other human beings, and also the capacity to understand the need for physical facility. And then we try to acquire the skill and practice through sustainable processes of more than what is required, doing the right utilization of what has been produced so that we can ensure prosperity within that. Yes, I have more than what I require for my family, for my extended family, and for my society. And also I'm able to take care of the nature around. I'm able to produce through sustainable processes, ensuring prosperity for both my family and nature. So we can clearly see that there is a need for such a solution-centric approach, which we find missing many a times in the current system. And if we try to look at the syllabus from primary to higher education, seldom we talk about relationship and our right understanding. right? And most of the time we talk about the physical facilities. I hope you are able to see this. Now, once we are able to see the need for human value-based education, then we can also try to make out the basic guidelines. So we need to be clear how we can decide whether something is valuable or not. If something is given through education, how can we say this is valuable? And can the value be universal? So this is something to be questioned, and this is something to be explored. So one basic guideline of value education would be that the content needs to be universal, which essentially means that the content needs to be applicable to all human beings, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, region, nationality, and so on. So the content has to be universal. It needs to be applicable to all human beings at all times and at all places. Secondly, it has to be rational. That is, it has to be amenable to logical reasoning. It can't be just based on do's and don'ts, should and shouldn't, or it can't be just a code of dictum. Third thing is that it has to be verifiable, which means that the student is able to verify what has been said in the form of proposals on their own right. And the student is also able to validate this in their living. So when I verify the proposal within and when I validate it in my living, then it becomes part of my understanding. So this is very much necessary that whatever is taught in terms of human values goes as a proposal, and the student is authorized and empowered to verify and validate it. Finally, the fourth one is that it has to be leading to harmony. So essentially, we all aspire to be happy, and that also in continuity. And with a little exploration, we can see that happiness is nothing but to be in harmony. When I am in harmony within, when I have harmony in my relationship, and when I am harmony in my participation in the society and in nature, I feel happy within. So whatever is taught through human values, it needs to lead to harmony, and that is what we are able to see in our lives. That more we are trying to explore the content, the greater we are able to experience the harmony within, which in turn allows us to foster harmony within our families. So values that enable us to live with peace and harmony within our own self and as well as with others will be part of this value education. So let me just sum up. So in conclusion, we can say that the need for human values is felt globally. Today, there is a need to put efforts towards it. There is a need to prioritize values over skills in education. And going by the solution-centric approach, we can see that there is a need for this holistic approach where the fulfillment in life can be addressed. With right understanding in every human being, we can build the capacity to we can identify the need for physical facility, the skills and practice for sustainable production of more than what is required, and right utilization of physical facility. And all this will lead to the feeling of prosperity. Then we also looked at the guidelines for such holistic value-based education, which are universal, verifiable, and rational, and leading to harmony. So with this, I would like to conclude here and call upon Mr. Umesh Jadhav to moderate the panel discussion for the need for value-based education. Yes, Mr. Umesh is former faculty, Getty College of Business Studies, Bhutan. He's a master's in tourism administration. He's a volunteer with Universal Human Values since a long 10 years, and he has been conducting faculty development programs. He CIP, and he's a regional coordinator of Western region for UHP. I welcome you, Mr. Jadhav, Mr. Umesh, to take over the stage. Over to you. Thank you, and namaste, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ritika ji, for presenting the UHP point of view on need of value education. It's my immense pleasure and honor to introduce the panelists, the experts, who are going to share their point of view, opinions in the today's discussions. So we have Dr. Archana Narula ji with us. She is a Registrar Academic, Professor of Chemical Engineering Department, MS Ramaiah Institute of Technology, Bangalore. So welcome, Archana ji.
Namaste, sir.
We have Dr. Samir Pillai, Director, Symbiosis Center of Management Studies, Nagpur. He has done PhD in Business Management and MBA in HRD. Recognized with lots of national and international awards. So Dr. Samir, welcome to the panel. Our third panelist is Dr. Subramaniam Sheshan Ayerji, Dean, Quality Assurance Cell, Professor at the Tameke Institute of Management Studies in Nagpur. His area of interest is teaching and qualitative research. Achieved award internationally. So Dr. Subramaniam ji, welcome to the panel. Our fourth panelist is Dr. Sanjay Srivastava ji, Vice Chancellor, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, Managing Director, Manav Rachna Educational Institutions, Faridabad, India. He has done PhD from University of Delhi, International Honorary Research Fellowship for the 5 years. His area of interest is cross-cultural management, psychometric profiling, leadership, change management, qualitative research. His efforts towards making students pragmatic and good human beings. Welcome to the panel, Dr. Sanjay. Our next panelist is Dr. S. Bhuvneshwari ji, HOD Department of Foundation Courses and Associate Professors, Mathematics, area Institute of Science and Technology, Tanjavur, India. She is PhD in Mathematics, authored textbook, published research, received awards. She's engaged in student initiatives on Universal Human Value Program and other community initiatives. Welcome, Bhuvneshwari ji. And our next panel is Dr. Manpreet Singh Manna ji, Vice Chancellor, Chandigarh University, Mohali, India. Manna ji is PhD in Electrical and Instrumentation Engineering, Director, AICTE, founder of Swayam, SDG4 UNO member, motivational speaker, receptance of many awards, published research, patents, and the speaker engagements. So welcome to the panel, Dr. Manpreet ji. Our next panelist is Dr. Ila Dedia ji. She is the director, Anvisham Foundation India, PhD in textiles and clothing, teaching experience, in charge principal, IQAC coordinator, PhD guide, and one of the volunteers of Universal Human Values for the past 4 years. So with this, I would like to welcome you all. Namaste and very good afternoon to all the delegates of this international conference, viewers on the YouTube, and the well-wishers who wants to be the world a better place to live. Thank you, Deepika ji, for summing up the morning keynote address, and what you have said in UHG point of view, that's absolutely right, and I guess most of the panelists will be agreed upon it, that as a world, we are progressing and has done a lot of progress in terms of education. The number of schools, colleges, universities across the world are increasing upon every year. And the number of students who are going through the education, spending minimum 10 to 15, 25 years are also increasing upon every year. So these two things are happening, and it's a wonderful achievement of human being. But with this, when we look into the individuals, the mental trauma, the tension, the frustration, the depression, the confusion is also increasing upon. When we look into the families or the organization, the conflict between the interpersonal relationship, family, like the fights between the spouse and the parents and the children, in the organization between HODs and the subordinates are also increasing. At the level of society, the fear is also increasing. And at the level of environment, the issues are also increasing, like polluted water, polluted air, polluted soil. And that sets the need for the well education. And that is my first question, that what holds higher priority in education for you? the values or the skills? And I would like to go to Dr. Subramaniam ji for this. So Dr. Subramaniam ji, what is your take on the priority in the higher education, the value or the skills?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, very clear.
As far as I'm a professor in management education. So over the years, I have understood that in management education, skill plays a higher priority. And when people are skilled and when they go for a career, they are much fancied or they are much comfortable in the organization. For that, as far as holistic education is concerned, the most important gap that I have identified is that the students have less critical thinking as far as real world problems. The gap between industry expectation and the student is a bigger gap that has to be filled up as far as holistic education is concerned. Now, what happens that at college level, they learn only the basic theories and whatever Peter Drucker has said and what Frederick Taylor has said. But when they reach organization, all depends on situational. And in those situations, they become very confused. And sir, what you referred about stress, depression, anxiety, and this started getting up. And this frustration leads to a lot of retention problem in organization. People frequently leave organization because they are not able to cope up with the stress and anxiety. So if we are able to give that skill, or what you call as mental skill, to make them more stronger, so that gap between industry expectation and the student can be minimized. On the other hand, experience come down drastically. Live case studies, live caselets. These are attached to some premier organizations like IIMs and IITs. But if I go to second tier or third tier colleges, the level of education is still limited to theory practice only. So experiential learning must be emphasized, and this will enhance the skills of the students. And when they join any organization, they are much more comfortable. If I take a data of last 7 years of my students, they have changed companies within 3 months. That is not expected. Maybe for a better package, maybe they are not comfortable there. So holistic education should target on critical thinking through skill education. That's what is my thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Subramaniam ji. And that sets the foundation for these panel discussions. I mean, what you have said is absolutely right. The industry's expectations are very different, and what education institutes are developing the students are very different. Many CEOs of industries are saying that you don't need to create a technical competency in the students. We are there for that. We can train the students for the technology in 6 months, but what you need to train them as a human being. So please send us human being to our organization. Send us the people who can work as a team, and a team can be built up on the clarity of what the relationship is. So thank you so much for your views. I take up the same questions to Dr. Sanjay Srivastava ji. Sir, what is your take on this? Like, what holds the higher priority in education, the skills or values? Over to you, Sanjay
Good
sir.
afternoon to all the esteemed panelists. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir, very clear.
Okay. So I must confess that I represent a university, and this is my 11th year in Manav Rachna. And our university is known as Rachna. Our founder believed that the basic purpose of education is to nurture or to build a human being which should be a better son or daughter and a family person and ultimately a person for the society and for the country. So Manav Rachna is not the name of his children. That is the basic essence or purpose of the education. We are in 27 years of our existence, and Dr. Manpreet Singh Manna ji is here. He has seen our university in person. And all those who visited, we are NAC A++ and an IRF 100 university of the country. We genuinely nurture and believe in Manav Rachna. And we believe that you cannot prioritize what comes first, values or skills. They are co-traveler. To me, they are co-traveler. If I know, I always say that in our university, we follow a principle called ASK, where knowledge is tertiary, skill sets are secondary, but attitude is primary. If I don't know how to SG, then whatever knowledge I possess, nobody will look at you. So I believe knowledge is always tertiary, but your values are supreme. In our university, we practice 5 values to the core, and we have 12 schools, K-12 schools pan India across the country. You go to all Manav Rachna schools, you will find these 5 values which we nurture from the day one when you enter to the portals of Manav Rachna. And they are not in any order. I won't say that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are circular in nature. You decide what is first. And ours, if I give this name, one is integrity. With esteemed panel and such a learned panel, I don't have to elaborate on this, but if you want, I can become specific. Another value we practice to the heart is inclusivity. Then student centricity is another value which all of us, as from Vice Chancellor to all the faculty members of the university, we work very hard for our students. The fourth one I would say is excellence. Excellence, we come from the land of Haryana, where Srimad Bhagavad Gita was given to the world by Lord himself. And it is one of our tagline in every endeavor of ours that yoga karmasu kaushalam. And in whatever we do, we must strive to achieve excellence. And lastly, nothing moves without sustainability. As a university, all our students fraternity, they are divided into different cohorts, and they work on 17 SDGs in the university and in the schools. And ultimately, each one of them are evaluated in the university on this. So I totally appreciate and agree what Lipika ma'am has said. What to do comes first, then how to do. But again, if as a researcher we talk about the relationship, whether it is linear or circular, it is a difficult argument. But in our university, we carry these two together, where values are equally important, but rather if I have to give a hard call between 1 and 2, I would say value to me is 1, then skills. I stop here, sir. I can talk for next 1 hour, but I have to stop somewhere. Sir, you are on mute.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for defining the role of education. What you said is absolutely right. The role of education is to develop the competency to live as a definite human being. A human being behaves like a human being with his family, with society, with the nation, and interact with the rest of the nature. And we are very glad to know that you are one of the university who believe in creating human being to live a fulfilling life, and not only focusing on development of skills to make them ready for the job, both the things are important. The job is also important, the life is also important, but it is our primary goal to prepare them to live a life. Job is the part of it.
Yes,
So thank you so much. Yes. Now I will go to Dr. Bhuvneshwari ji. Bhuvneshwari ji, what is your take on the same question? What holds a higher priority, the value or the skills for you? You're muted, Bhuvneshwari ji. You need to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to
Yes.
all. Can you able to hear me?
Yes, please
Can
go
you
ahead.
able to?
Ji, you are, yes, audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. So I am from the rural university. Actually, our university is situated at Vallam, Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu. Periyar Main Institute of Science and Technology. I am very bothered about the values because already the students are having some skills. They are coming, being the technical education. The skills can be easily taught by the faculty members so that easily somehow we can give training to the students to adapt it. But the values are most important because it can help to create a more civilized person. The students can be develop a positive view of life, and also it is a powerful tool. It will shape the character of the students. I believe that through UHV, I can also change because I adapted some of the values, and through that, I could see my changes in my life. And so I took that examples, and during my mentoring session, I give my stories to the students so easily the students will catch up the points and some good sign also I can find out the changes and why it is a need because nowadays the parents they want the best education for their children and it is not only confined to the books, it should goes beyond it. Actually these values can be taken to the students through community services which we are practicing in our university through NSS, MCC, because I have been for 10 years, I have been a NSS coordinator. So I have organized so many camps in the villages, and there we practiced many. I could able to explore themselves when they used to mingle with the community people. So nowadays the parents they focus more on the extracurricular activities and value education along with the academics. So because by giving such a training, we can see the students can face outer world with the right attitude. So that's why we have a new plan in 2024 regulation, all the curriculum we have reformed and we have included the community services, value-based education, UHV, everything we into the curriculum we have included in it. And also we are practicing we have started to practice from the first year onwards. And so the new department, our Vice Chancellor have introduced foundation courses, Department of Foundation courses, and myself heading that department. And there are 11 faculty members, and each one of the faculty members have the roles to play in this the foundation courses. So one of them is looking after the mentoring, all the how the students are allocated with the mentors, and whether they are all 20 students are allocated. Suppose if there are insufficient, what we can do, we can allocate them to the industrial experts. We can hire from outside. Even the students can be allocated to the industry people also, and even to the alumni. So such kind of practice we are doing. And I hope in the next question I can continue my things after hearing the experts' speech. I think out of my experience, because I have been part with this UHP from
Thank you,
2018
Bhuvneshwari.
onwards.
When there's a buzzer sound, which means our time is finished.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I'll come back to you in the second round.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Definitely come back to you. And that's interesting to understand. Like many a times, the people who live in the urban setup, they think that there are a lot of values in the rural area when they visit the rural area, and it is there. But you are one of the institutions who comes from the rural area and thinks that, yes, there is a need of value education. So the need of value is for all the human beings. And I guess, all our three panelists have said, yes, there is a need of value education. So now I'd like to go to Dr. Ida with little change in the question, that the panelists have said that there is a need of value education, but what is your take on how to make this value education more exploratory? Because, we may have some stories like the moral story, the stories about the ethical conduct. But how those stories can be understood, the content can be understood by the students. So my question to you is that how to make the value education more exploratory, and what shall be the guidelines for the value education? Over to you, Dr. Ila.
Thank you for your question, Umeshi. I'd just like to say that, from my own experience, I will say that the value education was very exploratory for myself, where I was able to establish a dialogue within myself. My mentors helped me to establish a dialogue within myself. And I could see that I could get answers very naturally from myself. And that exploration which started, I started applying to many life experiences. And those experiences helped me to understand the difference between harmony and disharmony. It helped me to understand how I was thinking, and how my transformation in thinking now is helping me in having more moments of harmony. So in the same way as it applied to me, I think the same applies to each and every human being. No one would like to go by the stick or by the rod to say, this is what you're supposed to do. None of us like to. If somebody will tell us that you have to do it, we don't like it. But somebody will discuss it with us and leave it to us. And if we have a dialogue within ourselves, I think that self-exploratory method is very good. And it helps you to, introspect within, to evaluate for your own self and make your own decisions based on that. Of course, those decisions also, if we look at it, if we heard the keynote session today, Dr. Bagaria said, Ganeshji said that all these are very universal. What is natural is very universal. And he asked all of us whether you like to be in relationship or in opposition. And we all had the answers. So similarly, these exploratory methods, I think for every student really matters. Just like any other human being, even students. In fact, the young youth that we are addressing, they really prefer if we are more exploratory. And this is my experience in the teaching of universal human values, facilitating rather than teaching. It's very different than any other subject. Like any other subject are facts and figures. But here my experience has been setting your own example, being your own self, and interacting with the students in a very exploratory way really helps. That's the way I have seen universal human value cannot be treated as at par at any other subject. It has to be dealt with very differently. And that's the way I have experienced it. So I really would like to thank you for your question. I'll come back to more content. I'll keep it brief so that others also have a chance to express.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ida. And thank you for bringing our attention on very important part that the process of the value education need to be exploratory, rather than imposing the content. But a teacher, the facilitator shall provide an opportunity to the students where the students can explore it. So it's not a teaching, basically, it's a proposals. So thank you so much for that. Now, I would like to go to Dr. Archana Nirmalaji. Archanaji, often, there is sort of a debate on the two different points of view. The one point of view said that the value education need to be start from a formative age, the school education. And the higher education shall focus only on the development of skills. There is another source of opinion, and that opinion says that the need of the value education is there for everything. So from the primary education until university education, we shall continue with the value education. So what is your take on this particular part? The need of the value education is only for the children who are going to the primary school, or the need of the value education is equally for the students who are studying in our higher educational institutions? Over to you, Dr. Archanaji.
Am I audible to all? Am I audible to all?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I really wanted to tell one small thing here. I belong to a group of institutions which has been promoted and established long back in 1962 by Dr. M.S. Ramaiah ji, who was a philanthropist, and he had a basic objective of serving the society. So that was one value which he thought that should be very imperative to all. So when he started the institutions, he first established two institutions. One was a school and one was an engineering college. So now here you're looking at two group of students which are of different age levels. And you are having children who are just very new to an education, and you are having a student who's coming to you and is going to be launched in the market for more productivity of a country, contributing on an intellectual level. So he was addressing the two very major age groups where we feel that, yes, values need to be added on. The initial school level, or at the level where the children are with their parents under their mentorship, the values which they gain there, they are more on looking at how the parents behave or how the grandparents behave, or what is the interpersonal relationship of people which is observed by a child, and based on that a child gains certain values. But when a child comes to higher education, there it is not looking at your peers, it is more like competition which sets in. So I feel there are certain values which a child starts inculcating because of competition, and which could be at times very, very detrimental. So here I would say I agree very much with the Sanjay ji when he said that we want to take values as well as skills together. So here something has to be given to a child when he's in that age group of 18 to 22, that a child is able to explore more how he applies his skill sets, so that the values like humility, humbleness, then empathy, and then ethics, these values are not compromised by a child. So there you require a little bit more participation of the industry also along with the teachers, so that certain exercises can be given to students where they are in a real-time situation and they are made well-versed that how in their professional careers, the values are going to play a very vital role. Once they are aware of it, I think it would be again something, a situation which you are trying to, I would say, put in practice what they were seeing as a child in their family, gaining information, gaining skills, gaining value systems, gaining certain traditional values from their parents, their grandparents, their family members, and the friends around. The same situation needs to be created with the teachers as well as the industry together, such that the student is able to get the value system and the skills together, so that it contributes to a sustainable development. It does not lead to something which is not required by the society. So I would conclude on this that yes, I feel values are important at each age group, but the way it is to be administered to a student, that needs to be modified by us rather than just confining it to a classroom. We need to come out. We need to integrate and then put a real-time situation to a student to learn. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your insight, Archana ji. And what I had understood through your insight is, yes, the value education is required for the parents also, for the teachers also, and for the students also, and for the whole society as such. So it is required for everyone. But the techniques, the tools, the content, the instructions shall be according to the age group. So thank you so much for that insight. Now I would like to go to Dr. Manpreet ji. Sir, like this one more question, right? Ila Didi ji has answered to these questions before, but how to make this value education more exploratory so that the student can understand it? Because the two parts are important. The one is the understanding of the students, and second is living accordingly. So how, what we can do in value education so that the students will be prepared to live according to the values? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jeet. Thank you very much. And I will try to cover the dimensions as discussed with our great panelists, co-panelists with me, well in time frame. First of all, there was a discussion about this, whether it's in a school education time or a higher education time, when the values should be given. And being Indian, I know one thing. In my country, if anybody is going to temple to do the worship, there is a no age. Yeah, either of 8 years of guy is going to the temple or 80 years old guy person is going to the temple to do the worship. And every day we do read Hanuman Chalisa. We never said, okay, now you're 18 years old, you need not to be read the Hanuman Chalisa. What does mean that? Our life values, our human values, our great gods, Krishna ji, Ram ji, and Guru Nanak, what they have given, the values content which we do read, jo prab ko mil bo chahe khoj shabad mein le, it does mean that there is a no limitation. And now I'll come to the second point. That point is clear. Value is required in higher education as well as in the school education, and forget it, even higher education, values are required at the age of 60 also. So the second point comes, pre-independence, whether anybody was educated or illiterate, there everyone supposed to be say that I am fighting for my freedom of my country. I love my country, India. I love my country's natural resources. I love my country people together. That was there. Some lawyers were also freedom fighters. Some even great, the people that have PhDs, they were freedom fighters. And today, if you open the newspaper from last maybe couple of years or maybe one decade, the most of the crimes are reported, whether it's a domestic violence, whether it's a road rage, or whether any kind of other crimes. I don't name even the crimes. You will see the most of the persons in my country or maybe other developing countries or developed countries, they are the most educated people. Either they are the top bureaucrats, or maybe sometimes they are the top technocrats of that. And the crime, when you read the crime, even you can't read it in front of your family. This kind of crime has happened. What does mean that? We reach to the next level of the technology or even education to make our people high skillful. The top CEOs of the world are the Indians. Top CEOs of the world are the Indian. But when we look into this newspaper and look at this, it means that we failed to deliver the value education. The value education, maybe at the school level, maybe the higher education level. Recently, just last year, when I've taken a charge as a vice chancellor, we started something what is called a social internship. Because outside India, there is a good numbers for the voluntary services. What is that? If today, I believe, and it is my 10 years old story, which I'm going to say here, I used to say in a class, dear students, when I'm teaching you technology like electrical engineering, if I'm teaching you technology without values, I'm creating a techno-terrorist, which I'm not supposed to be. I should supposed to be create an asset to the country, not the techno-terrorist, because without values, if they have the technology, they are very harmful for the country because they will come in hand of the bad people. You never know where to do. So this is what. And now when we talk about the social internship, it does mean that the students go to the all my 6 villages, which we adopted from the Chandigarh University as under Unnat Bharat. They do serve the food, they do serve the medicines, they do serve the technology, they do serve the financial literacy to the aged people, elderly people, so that they start loving their grandparents. And these values cannot be taught in the classroom. Skills can be given to certain level to the classroom and the rest with the practice. And of course, education can be given through the classrooms as we have a Gurukul Maryada, but actually the values by practice. If I value my parents, my son is going to value me tomorrow. If I will not value my parents, he is watching every day what my father is for their parents and what exactly I'm supposed to do for him. So values means we make our own, being a teacher, being a scholar, or being even a human being. Of course, thousands will watch you and they will learn. And this is what I just want to be say for the values point of view. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And that's a very important point that you have bring into the notice of everyone, including me, that the technology is for the human being or the human being is for the technology. Right? We can drive the technology and not the technology can drive to us. But that is what is happening today. The small television which has come in the hands of every people, the palm television, that is basically driving the human being, but the human being need to drive the technology. Thank you so much. Now I would like to go to Dr. Sanjay Pingleji to understand his take on what is the priority in education, whether the values.
Thank you. So I will like to add few important points to the discussion. The first one is I teach the UG and PG students in management. So one of the most important thing which drives both skills and values is the job market, right? And second very important dimension is the financial condition of that particular child, right? When we look at the job market and the jobs in demand in India as well as abroad, the message which the children and the parents have received directly or indirectly is, if you go for a skill-based job, you get better ROI, return on investment at an early age, right? So that is one point I want to make. Next is the upbringing. Now, when we look at the metros where both the parents are working, many of them do not have time for their kids, right? And the child goes to tuition from nursery, right? So we need to think about this particular dimension of the child. The next one is the societal expectation, right? So what is considered as right and what is considered as wrong by the society. The next one I want to bring about is the role models. When we look at the society, what type of role models our children or our students have, right? So how these role models are defined by the society. So someone having lots of money is your role model, you will have your values accordingly and you won't mind compromising with those values, right? So that is another dimension I won't like to bring about. Next one is when I interact with the children, UG and PG, I realize that many of them do not have purpose, right? Which is very important. And here the role of values is extremely important. If you do not have purpose, if you do not have right values, even if you have skills, you may misuse those skills or you may not use those skills at all, right? So that is another thing. Next, very important point we need to understand when it comes to values. Values are learned everywhere, not only in the classroom. Values are also learned at home. Okay, you imbibe values just by observing anyone, right? So it is very important to understand from where our children are learning the values. The next one I would like to add is whether we are talking about the primary education or higher education, are my best students becoming teachers or not? Okay, so if my meritorious students are opting for teaching as a profession, it may so happen that they will be able to inculcate right values in their uh, student. So when we talk about skills versus value debate, this is a vicious cycle. Unless we do not have right role models, unless there is change in the way we have, as a society, we have expectation from our children, this cycle will not change. Because even when we talk about value education being taught in schools, many schools for children, it is just one of the periods. It is just one of the class. So they don't realize that this is something very important, and many teachers also do not take it seriously. So my personal opinion is values as well as skills both are equally important, and this should be taught from the childhood. And if it is responsibility of the parents as well as teachers and also the society to provide right direction to the children. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for that, your final note that value education is required for everyone, to the child, to young adult, to the old age also. And similar sort of need is being mentioned by Dr. Mantrichi also. And it is the responsibility of the parents, it's the responsibility of the teachers, it is the responsibility of the whole society as such. But then, how a parent will be or become a person who will live with the value, or how the society will start following the value, right? How the teacher will be a role model living with the value. So ultimately, it comes on an education. So if we impart an education which is based on the value based in education, then such education will help every human being or every child to understand the values and to live with the values. So thank you so much for bringing that important point into the discussions. Now, with this, I'm opening up our second round of the panel discussion. Thank you so much, all the delegates, and thank you so much for YouTube viewers also, who are also taking active participation into the discussions through the charts and through sending their smileys and emojis. But I can also request, the participants and the delegates of this conference, you can also write your answers in the chat box. So, opening up the second round of discussions, I would like to go to Dr. Archana ji straight away. A little critical question. Critical in a sense, like whenever we talk about value, everybody thinks that it is important. But when it comes to the implementation of value as a course, then the people say that we already having high credits. Number of credits are there, so many courses are there, and if you introduce one more course, then there will be credit, and how to balance these credits. So this is sort of the question. So I'll take to you. I'll take your opinion on this particular question. Over to you, Archana ji.
See, I have been framing the curriculum for the entire UG programs. We have 18 UG programs at the institute. So looking the guidelines to the departments to frame the curriculum, emphasizing on certain courses which are mandatory given by AICT, and then looking at integrating now with the new implementation. Universal human values has been introduced for the past over 4 years into the curriculum. But if I take an opinion from my faculty onto that, they always say, don't put it as a separate course. Integrate it to all the courses in the form of assignments. They always say, Madam, please have one assignment component designed in such a way where the human values are tested for a child. So somewhere I feel that's a very good input which they are providing. Some of them have really presented also the type of exercises they have given to students and how students have executed them in a real-time scenario, emphasizing on certain values, displayed those contents, and have performed well to the expectations of a teacher. But when we look at putting this course into implementation, I feel it is a necessity. We can integrate universal human values or value system to any of the courses by giving the problems as the teachers have been exercising, but putting as a separate course also is essential so that we can share some real-time stories with the students, share our experiences with them, so that the values which we have acquired over a period of time can be brought to them and they can really take those value systems and progress in their life. Because tomorrow when they go to the industry wants people to be with the value system, and then they can train them up to the required skill sets which they essentially need for their implementation. But if I tell industry that please introduce integrity into a person, that would not be a right thing on my part. So somewhere I need to teach that integrity to a student before I send him to the industry. So this is what I feel. Yes, a course is needed. It should be imperative for all students to undergo such a training where they know that this is right, this is wrong. The value system doesn't only teach us something. It talks about culture, it talks about tradition, it talks about a lot of other things which every day I require in my management of myself. So if I'm able to do that, I think I'll be a good asset to the industry as well as to the country. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Archanaji. Thanks again. I mean, that's important. The student should understand what is right and what is wrong. The same thing has been mentioned by Dr. Samir also, previous panelist. What is good, what is not good. And then each one of us want to understand by our own self what is right for me. We want to understand by our own self, on our own rights. So for that, it's important to have the value education. And something which is important, we can always find out a way to balance this balance between the credit for the skills course and for the value courses. We have Vice Chancellor Mannaji is here, who is also experimenting about the social internship in his university. So we'll directly go to him and ask him, how are you maintaining this balance, sir, between the skills and value courses? Over to
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. So there are two components we have just adopted over here. One is called a general proficiency. I think most of the universities, institutions in my country, they do adopt the general proficiency, which comes from the different kind of value-added courses, and the human value courses also, the UHV also is coming over there. So that is the one component we can bring in that way, GP, that is the credit based. We have the MNGs, that is called a mandatory but ungraded. It does mean that the student has to get the satisfactory from the concerned mentor, who is going to be evaluate, who is going to be monitor, what kind of the services is giving to the campus or outside the campus, in the hostel, in the classroom, in the vicinity, and what level the feedback coming from the parents about his behavior. So that way, we can give the satisfactory note, and without getting the satisfactory note, the promotion which is going to be happen to the next level, he has to have the scale to the one particular CGP, or maybe the scholarship is going to be linked, or maybe some kind of the additional benefits which is supposed to be given to the learners has to get linked, because seriousness is important. Generally, what happens in the psychology of the learner, if there is no grade, they will be never serious. So in other way, not putting the grades exactly to make them to be, okay, you are a fail in that, because nobody can be fail. It is only the transformation. Sometimes I could not present myself, I could not behave myself in such a way that I can't say that you are not a human being. Yes, you are a human being, but you must be having certain deficiencies, the values of the nation values, of course, the human values, family values, or the institution values. So that categories we have brought it in the GP as well as the MNGs. And of course, the one credit course which we do, of course, make mandatory for the first year learners, because they're coming from the different domain area. 65 countries learners are coming, 28 states learners are coming to my campus. They must have the different schooling, the different parenting also. We don't claim or blame for anything. But at the same time, if they are coming in a one uniform structure of the Chandigarh University, they're supposed to have the ethics and the code of ethics of the Chandigarh University. For that reason, they should know how to behave in the campus, how to wear the uniform, what kind of the wearing, what should be the talking, no abusive words supposed to be used in the campus or the cafeteria area. So these kind of the part we have made one mandatory credit course in the first year, so that they should go very seamlessly in this world, and out of the campus also they should carry this word, because they will become the alumni of the campus. This is what we are just promoting over here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for experimenting so many different ideas for imparting value education in your campus. Let me go to Dr. Samir Pingleji with a question that how we can help our children to develop the understanding so that they will prepare to live a citizen of the society, the citizen of the nation, the member of the family, the member of the organization.
Sir, thank you for this question. So there are two broad approaches for this. One is a course on value education, which most of the panelists have already discussed. Then many universities, including ours, have something called as service learning, where the students do not have any course on value education, but they work with a societal problem. They work either with an NGO or any other organization, but they try to address a social problem and they learn from that, right? So I have experienced that rather than having a course on values, something like social learning is much more effective, because they are able to see the impact then and there itself. That is one. Next very important aspect is, I think one of the attendees has already asked this particular question. When it comes to school education, the teachers themselves should first leave those values. For example, something very simple like punctuality. So if as a teacher, I am not punctual, no way I can have that expectation from my students, because my students are input for the corporate, right? So they are the future employees or future entrepreneurs. So if I cannot imbibe the value of say punctuality, right? So whatever grades they are getting, that is questionable, right? So one very important thing we need to understand when it comes to bringing values like punctuality or discipline. I think one attendee has already posted it in the chat box, that the impact of social media is very high and the impact of teachers and parents is the least on the students. So there are many challenges. If you do not answer a particular question, that answer is available not only in terms of a writer, but the videos are also available for the same. So it is very important that we understand the ground realities and we prepare the students by demonstrating those values in whatever we are doing, not just courses, depending on the type of programs they are enrolled into. It might be a practical, it might be lab, it might be interaction in a club or committee. So it is very important that the students have right role models. So same thing is applicable for the parents as well. If parents are always busy with the social media at home and not giving time to the kids, right? So you're sending a wrong message to the children. So according to me, demonstration, Professor Subramaniam, in the beginning, he talked about the experiential learning, use of simulation, use of cases. It is required. Many teachers do not use it because the preparation time for cases is very high, right? So sometimes when I prepare a Harvard or Ivy case, it takes 8 or 10 hours for preparation. And many teachers, they use the easier way of PowerPoint presentation, right? So teachers will have to work differently, and teachers should work hard to bring about the change. And I think it is doable. As a team, as a unit, we can bring about the positive change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Samir. And again, you focused on that demonstration part, the living part.
Yes.
But that brings a question: if the thought of the human being has not changed, how come the behavior will change? And to change the thoughts of the human being, the feelings need to change. And to change the feelings, the human being need to understand. And that understanding, development of understanding is the role of education. So thank you so much. Now, I would like to go to Dr. Sanjay Ji, Vice Chancellor, again, to take his opinion on, like, sir, there are a mix of two questions for you, basically. You can decide or you can answer to both of these questions. Number one is this credit part, how to balance the credit between the skill courses and value courses, and what shall be the priority when we design the courses. And second question is, this value education is important only for those primary school children or for the children who are in our university and institute? So over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. If I give a brief conceptual framework, that credit point, which question you have asked, is more important. First, like, well done is better than well said. And what we have done, I shall be talking to you. But we conduct a lot of faculty development programs, and we give one message all the time, that there are 4 components to it in our role as a tutor, coach, and mentor, in which we say that knowledge decides what to say. However, skill decides how to say. But attitude decides how much to say. And wisdom, where value education comes in the picture, wisdom decides whether to say or not to say. To do this, we have a comprehensive Manav Rachna life skill points program, which is highly measurable. We also we have under Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, we have adopted 10 villages, and we also do social internship, because as a university, we follow project-based learning. When you do project-based learning, these are the best way through which you can implement how to practice it. And what Manav Rachna life skill pointers I talk to you is 25 into N. If you are doing a course of 3 years, you have to earn 75 points. If it is a 4 years program, it is 100 points. If you come to our dental school, it is a 5 years program, you go for 125 points. So it depends. And these life skills, like Manav Rachna life skill pointers, are in terms of, it's an audit course. So it won't reflect on your grade sheet, but without this, passing this, without earning this, you are not entitled to get your degree. Because as I said, it was the founder's belief, vision, and philosophy that every student who comes to the portal of Manav Rachna should be seen, should become an asset to family, society, and the country. So through this, now we are quite old, and it passes on from one generation to another generation. So now things are moving well, and through Manav Rachna life skill points, and we also give recognition and reward to such faculty members who significantly in this. So I stop here.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your practical experiences with us and what you are doing for the imparting value education and how you are maintaining the balance between the credit and things. So thank you so much. I take up one of the questions from our delegates. Jesu Ekuriya Raj ji has left this question for us. How can we make students realize that the value education is important as the skill education? So Bhuneshwari ji, would you like to take up this question? how can we make our student realize that the value education is more important than the skill education? Over to you.
Actually, it is very much essential to realize that this value education is very essential for the students. So actually, by the way of conducting some drama like role play and taking them to the community and showing them what is the reality is taking place in the society. So everything we should bring it in the eye-opening of the students. We should show, we have to showcase to them. Only then they will realize it. So the small incident, what are the things happening that should be published? And if it is very important to all the students, they must know about it. That should be put up on the notice board with a picture. So because of this, it was happened. So please, this should not be continued in future only if you follow this. So like that, we can give some examples. So the notice board will take more points to the students, those who need of this values. And main things, the faculty should follow the values and they should go to the class and they have to give respect to the students. Only then they will get some respect. Nowadays, we can see in the newspapers. So what are the things are happening nowadays? Why it is happening? Because of maybe the mobile phones, it take up the students to all the level. Now the students are thinking that whatever we are doing is correct. They are not giving the time to think that it is whether what we are doing will affect others or it will affect the family members or it will affect them. So like that, they don't give time to think before they perform it. So such kind of things should be addressed to the students by the way of showing them what is really happening in the world. So simply only by storytelling, it will not take the things to the students. It should be shown to the students directly. Only then they will realize. That I exercised in my camps and all. So the affected person, I will take the students to that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what you said, like many of our delegates also saying the same thing, that it has to translate into a living, and then the students will understand, and they will understand the importance of value education, and they will take interest into it. So thank you so much. I'll take one more question from the delegates. Interesting name, human robot. That's the name is being mentioned here. So Ila Didi, you may take up this question. Ethics can vary across countries because they are often influenced by cultural, historical, religious, societal norms, which differ widely from one region to the another region. How we can go ahead with the universal ethics or universal values? I think that is what you mean to say. Dr. Ila, over to you. Would you like to take up this question? Okay, I'll pass on the same question to Dr. Subramaniam ji. Dr. Subramaniam ji.
I couldn't get the question.
Yeah, the question is basically, the delegate is saying that there is so much of difference in value system, in practices, in philosophies, all these things. Right? How can something be a universal? How to make universal human values?
That's why I talked about skill education. Now, when I am taking my students, gap between student and industry I am filling up, I am also emphasizing on caselets that if such situation arises in the organization, how you should cope up with that. So in addition to skill, I am adding values also. For example, if I am teaching something called as selling, selling is a profession. Now, people adopt unethical practices for sales. So in that, when I'm teaching selling, I can add human values. I can talk ethics that don't use bad things or don't use abusive language, don't go beyond a limitation. So in the process of developing skill also, I am developing human values also. In my institute, Datta Mege, what we do mentoring sessions. Now, mentoring is a very good practice where 15 or 20 students are taken by one faculty. And in that process, while he is telling that how to manage your profession, he is also telling where human values will come so that your career will be successful. Longer duration, you can succeed if your human values are there. So humbleness, politeness, how kind you are, how you compliment your subordinates, how you cooperate with their approach. If anybody needs help, you do that. So in mentoring session, what we are doing, we are imbibing the human values also with respect to skills that are required for a career. Another thing that we can do is that we can take them to, say, Anath Ashram, community level. We can take them, we can show people how they are living. They don't have parents, somebody's looking after, and you have got a better life. Why you are spoiling it? So from negative aspect also, we can teach some human values positively. So this aspect also we can take. So many activities we can do. We can do a padayatra, spread what is good. Traffic rules are being broken by young children and they suffer accidents also, but still they don't learn. So through community level education also, we can imbibe human values in students. So that's my answer for that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, I mean, that's important, right? To understand, practicing the values. So, and you have given a lot of different examples for that, how we can make student engaged in learning through.
Because engaging makes them entertaining also. By applying all these things, they like also these things. If you just give them lecture or preaching, they don't take it. That's why I took that point.
Very true. Very true. And that all those examples of the industries and the colleges that we have given, that basically has answered to the question from the delegates that when we talk about the value is definite. It's definite and it is same for all. So it becomes universal. So let me give an example like respect is a value. So it is universal, it is same for all. But when it comes to the expression of the respect, we may express the respect by different gestures and the different words. So the expression part is different and the value part is different. But when you look into the value is universal, it is definite. And those definite values can be taught in the classroom to children. I would like to involve some of the delegates. There are 4 have raised their hands. Dr. A.K. Saini ji, who is Dean from Jaipur. You have microphone, sir. Do you have any question? Raghavendra Kulkarni ji, the microphone is also passed on to you. You can unmute yourself and ask the question to our eminent panelist. Dr. Sanjay Panwar ji, Dean, do you have any question? Jitendra Kumar Rao ji. Yes, Dr. Sanjay Panwar ji. The microphone is unmuted, but we are not able to listen to your voice. Now I can hear something, but your voice is not clear.
Voice is not clear. Some problem.
I guess there is some network issue. Yeah, he said that there is no question. If any of our participants?
I'd just like to add some points here, if there is no question.
Yes, Dr. Ilaji.
Yeah, I just recall the words of Dr. Ganesh Bagaria in the keynote talk. And I think what he stressed on was values to be internalized rather than coming from external control. And he also gave the example of the UN SDG goals, which the world is talking about since several years. But we have failed to achieve those because of our approach, which is very problem-centric. And he did stress on the solution-centric approach. And my experience with the universal human value education with students has been, faculty and students, my experience has been that it's a very gradual shift, but it is a very definite shift through education. And the shift is because of the shift in our thinking, in our imagination. And when it comes in our imagination, when it is the right understanding establishes in our thought process, it does lead to inaction and behavior. That comes natural. So I would really go by what the programs of the AICT have been. And I think the need for value education is very rightly understood and very rightly programmed. The sessions, the programs, the courses, they have been very well designed, which help us to internalize the values, explore through self-exploration and self-evaluation. And I really feel that that is, even through the sharing that we saw, we've already gone through the sharings just before this, and we could see how it has impacted on the individual life as well as the institution, within the institute, on faculty and students also. So I think that it's a very important part in the education. So, of course, skill is important. We cannot do without skills. Skill is very important. But along with the skill, it has to be backed with values. So I think the need for a value-based education, the holistic value-based education, I really like the theme of this conference. And I think it really brings us to the point where we have to look at a solution-centric approach rather than a problem-centric approach, where we'll be dealing with different problems. Rather, we can go with a solution-centric, where we are understanding the problems at the root and we are able to handle them at the root. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Ilaji. You were missed out in the second round.
No.
I like to take direct question from participants. I'm providing the microphone. Dr. Shiji Nambiarji.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, Shiji.
Good
Yeah, I would request Dr. Sanjay, Vice Chancellor, to take up a question. Sir, will that be okay? Yes. Shiji, you may continue with your question. Vice Chancellor, sir, will take up your question.
Sir, as an educator, I have done my engineering and LLB also. So sometimes I feel that there are few students who are on skill-based criteria more challenged, and there are some students who are emotionally or value-based way more channelized. So how do I create a balance for those students? Or how can I, because sometimes I also feel the student who is more skilled need to be promoted more, or a person who is more into emotional human values. So how to create a balance, because few students are only competitive or looking for a knowledge system. How to create a balance between them?
Yeah, sir got your question, and sir will answer to your question in 30 seconds. We have 30 seconds. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And ma'am, As a teacher, like I have said before, that we have to do many faculty development programs, and there are three principles of life: the principles of thought, principles of speech, and principle of action. A good teacher has to strike an optimum balance, how to carry the value chain when they are dealing with students. And it comes only with the practices, because some of our students in the class, they are emotionally little fragile, some of them are strong. So I hope thought, speech, and action. What is
Yes.
mansa vacha karmana.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you all the panelists. Thank you all the delegates, and thank you, our viewers on the YouTube to be a very active part of this panel discussions. Actually, it's 3:30. I do not have time to conclude the panel discussions, but all the panels were so sharp and so nicely they have shared their views. So you didn't leave any space to conclude this panel discussion just by saying one word, that there is a need to make today's value education as a value-based skill education. So thank you so much. And
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes, there is a announcement from my side as an anchor for the session. Very nicely done by all the panelists and very nicely moderated by Umesh ji. And it was very nicely introduced as a UHG person by Lipika ji. So announcement for the next session is there is a break now, and we all should meet in the second shift. It will start around 7 p.m. Ji, namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Namaste.